time for Level Up. We do this the first Wednesday of every month. We skipped last month. Hey, Derek. We can hear you. Last month we skipped because it was the 4th of July and we were out of town, so circumstances prevented us from coming in on July. So we're back. Mr. Taylor, I see you.
There he is.
We're back, and I appreciate the people that have come out here. If you don't know the purpose of our event, it is really a networking event to bring us all closer, where we can all help one another. And I've talked to a few people. The people that are here, I want to help you. I want to introduce you to other people that can help you as well. So that is the purpose of it. But before we get started, I do want to say thank you to two of my best buddies. They're here and they're great supporters. I did not ask them to do this, but Derek Godwin and Phil Griffin are both here, and they understand what it takes to advocate for others. They know how to build loyalty. They're two of the best that I know that have ever come into my life. So they're both doing a giveaway tonight. Phil Griffin is going to give away the Don Julio tequila. Who in here likes Don Julio tequila?
Who doesn't?
Nick, put your hand down, Nick.
Any of these can we fill out?
You can, well, we got judges back there. If you're on the team, you cannot win. Godwin Construction, if you don't know, well, let me tell you a little bit more about Phil. Phil is he's really a political strategist is what he does, but he's also he's an SEO whiz. He owns Griffin Strategies, which is his political campaign, but he also owns Magnolia. Damn, I can't talk tonight.
Magnolia.
So I want you to know, Phil, where are you, Phil? Is he even in here?
He's been
I think he went to the bathroom.
Okay.
He stepped out, yeah.
Well, Derek Godwin is an engineer by trade. He's one of the smartest people you will ever meet.
Wicked smart.
He's very smart, but he's also, he owns a construction company, so he is giving away this fancy cooler. I don't even know what that thing is, Derek.
Yeti.
It's a Yeti?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Yeti cooler. So he's going to give that, he's giving that away. So just in case you don't know how to win this, there's a piece of paper on the table. Has everybody filled out the form?
Yes.
Has anybody not filled out the form?
I'm filling one out right now.
Is this your second one?
You said you could fill out as many. No.
You can do however many you want. But there's some things I don't know if everybody told you. You do have to fill it out. You also have to put a Facebook post out and tag #GTT. So hey, I'm going to get started right now. We have Carey Ann Cyr up here. If you ever hear my morning grind, or if you ever hear us on Facebook, I call her Carey Ann. Carey Ann. Carey Ann is a lender. Is that what we call you, a mortgage loan officer? What would we call you?
Yeah.
For the people out there that may not know you.
Mortgage originator.
She's a mortgage originator and
Money guru.
what?
Money gal. Which, yeah, no, mortgage originator. Yeah.
She's a money girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long we've known each other, but we really met through Coach Burt's Launch and Producer program. We've developed a relationship over the last few years, and me and her we've become good buddies. She's good buddies with Brittany. She's good buddies with actually a lot of the people in here. And the reason why she was chosen is because of her extremely high level of achievement. So I want to tell you her achievement level so you can understand this. She was the #1 producing loan officer in the state of Tennessee.
Woo!
Now, how many years have you done that? Was this the first time, or have you done it before?
First time for family served, yes.
First time for family served, but she was also number 17 in the whole country.
Yes.
In the whole wide world. Can we say the whole wide world?
Stick it to the country. Yeah.
Let's stick it to the country. So I want you to understand what she's done. What that is. #1 out of how many mortgage officers, loan officers in the state of Tennessee?
Quite a few. Yeah.
Thousands?
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands?
There he is.
Hey Phil, we didn't mention you. I know Me and you are both narcissists. It's important that you get your time, your attention. Thank you for the gift. DG, thank you for the gift as well. So I've given you a little introduction to Carey Ann, but during this podcast, if anyone has a question, I don't care what you do. It does not matter what business you're in. There's some things that Carey Ann that she does that you can take from her. It does not matter. And if you see Nick up here, his job. He's the hardest working 11-year-old in the country. That's what we're going to tag or call him. But so again, if anybody has any questions during this, raise your hand and I'll stop after I'm done.
Yes.
And you can go ahead and speak up. So be thinking about some questions. But how long have you been in the mortgage business?
So I'm a New Englander, so I moved from New Hampshire 19 years ago to pursue a career in music. So music brought me to Nashville, and so I fell into mortgages about 19 years ago, yes. So I was very lucky. You want to hear that story?
I want to know how long you've been exclusively in sales. Because I'm trying to I want people to understand the time it took you to get
Sure.
there.
So I've got let's kind of just fast forward from 19 years ago to about 5.5 years ago. So decided to have a little one later in age, right? So had a little one and got this thing which I didn't have time for. I was the girl that was going to have a baby on Friday, be back to the office on Monday. That was how I rolled, right? And I got this thing called postpartum that none of us expect to have. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's an alien that takes over a female's body and you can't really do a function at all, right? And so not 2 weeks after coming back from maternity leave, I lost my job. So I was out of a job and being the only moneymaker of my household, I was like, oh, this is convenient. What are we going to do here, right?
What was your job that you lost?
So I was a mortgage originator with a company. We had a falling out with a particular company. And so I always kind of say my life restarted at that point. I was successful. I was probably doing $60 million at that time, right? That was a lot in mortgage production. But then I didn't have a job, didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
You were doing $60 million and got fired. Or let go or whatever.
Yes, I think the Yankee came out of me too many times. You know, it's all good. But I always look at
So to understand this,
I had a falling out.
how many million?
60 million.
60 million, that's roughly $5 million a month, if I'm right.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a good loan officer is probably doing $24 to $25 million.
Correct.
Just to put this into perspective.
Right, and I just started a team at the time, and just so everybody knew, I actually, I had my own branch at the time as well, right? And so, had a falling out, and at the time, the lending institution that I worked for felt like the success of that branch had nothing to do with me, and so that company offered everybody a lot of money to stay, and thought that Carey Ann could just, go her own way with her child, and life would just carry on for them. So, what was I to do? 5.5 years ago, and I don't have a job. So, for those that don't know, you don't have to be licensed as a mortgage originator if you work for a bank. And so I worked for a bank for 10 years, right? And so I'm at the point where I could just go to your next bank. That could be an easy thing to do. Or I could just give up. That was a lot easier because I was, going through a little bit. But decided that I would just, figure out how I was going to recreate myself and start from scratch. So that's kind of what I did 5.5 years ago. Went in and, for those that don't know, I have a learning disability. I can't, I made it through college without reading a book. I can't comprehend, so what you can read and you can understand. Well, first, I'm also blind too, so I can't read, can't blind. Hey, I'm on the stage, that's all that matters, right? I'm just joking. So, but I had to study for tests, right? You have to study for a real estate exam, etc. And so I had to work through that, take care of a child. I was kind of a single mom at the time. We won't go into that story, but trying to do it all, right? And so I remember going in to take that exam with 10 fingernails, came out with none, right? Because I was scared to death. And I passed that test, I think, by 2 points. That's all I just needed to pass. And if you and I both know about the real estate exam and the mortgage exam, it has nothing to do with what we do every single day. It was about what's going to cost me if I go to jail, or, what's this law, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How long in time was it from losing your job to what you're talking about?
well, I had to quickly figure out. It was about 60 days, right? So we're going on our second month with no paycheck, and so I had to make some decisions. So a buddy of mine was with a company. I was like, hey, I'll just go to that company, but I needed a license. That's kind of how that triggered. And so I went and passed that test. And my first day on the job, the gentleman says, if you drink my Kool-Aid, you will be very successful here. And if you're an independent individual who's got an entrepreneurial spirit, you're not drinking anybody else's Kool-Aid, right? And so that lasted 45 days at that company. And so right after that, a buddy of mine in San Diego opened a CMG Financial branch. And so I flew across the United States and decided I was going to open and take the risk and the leap of faith and open a CMG Financial branch. So that's
Hey, I'm going to ask some painful questions. So
Okay, bring it on.
crown me, or don't go back and, there's a reason why I'm going to ask these type of questions. So during this time period where you lost your job, then you got a new job and you didn't last very long there, was there some doubt whether you're like, hey, I'm not supposed to be doing this? What was your emotions? What was your feelings during that time, if you can remember? What were they telling you?
So I made the choice when I moved here to pursue music. It was a kind of a family decision, right? And I gave up on it. And so the driving force, I think, behind it was I was going to be a success no matter what, right? And so I chose to not let music be, allow me to be that success. So I think if you have that fire in your belly and you have now a choice that you're going to have a little one, and you look at her and you're like, I have no other choice but to find the fire to be successful no matter what. And so I think that's kind of what I was going through at
Now,
the time.
did you find the fire, or did you already have the fire? You did 60 million once before, so did you already have it?
Well, when people are telling you that you're no good and you don't need to be here, part of the branch, and your success is really not because of this, like, it's fairly easy to hear what other people are saying and start to doubt yourself. Absolutely. So it took a lot of self, finding, to figure out that yes, I do want to be something grander than who I thought I was at the time.
And again, if anybody's got any questions, throw your hands up. If I'm not talking, I will look at you and I will acknowledge your question. I'm a big believer in understanding mindset, and for me, being around people like you, Phil, Derek Godwin, who here has seen Ronnie Martin run for city council, by the way? Has anybody not seen Ronnie Martin run for city council? The cool thing about being around people like you guys is I look at my mindset and I'm like, damn, I'm a loser. I'm weak. Why don't I have that drive? I mean, I start beating myself up. So I want to go inside your mind, and I want you to tell us your mindset. How did you develop a mindset to go from 60 million to fired to a new job, fired after 45 days, then to become number one?
I decided to leave that job. I didn't get fired from that job.
Sorry about that. So let me say that one more time. You were on a job for you did 60 million. You got fired. You went to another place after getting a license, and you decided this place is not for me.
Correct. I'm back on. So sorry. Correct. So I just decided I was going to start, and it takes one, right? It just takes one, takes two, and then there are four, et cetera, et cetera. So systems, and structure. Being a mom and trying to recreate a business, I had to just start to find structure. So I would get up at 4 o'clock. The alarm started at 4, and I would do my loan applications from the night before. I would work on approvals. My daughter would get up at 6 o'clock. I would take care of her, and I would just continue to be structured throughout my day because I had to take care of her plus, be able to do something. I also had to recruit, right? I had to rebuild the team. Everybody was at a different location, and I'm proud to say that everybody eventually came over, and that company is now, closed down in the local area that I was, particularly in. But it just started from, just basically started from scratch. What I say is you can be successful and you can lose everything big deal, right? Nobody really gets that. Like you referenced, people doing 30 million, we give them awards trips. That's a lot of volume produced.
Well, I remember when 30 million was probably one of the top. That was a top number around here.
Right.
But were you always a systematic person? I'm looking at myself and I'm reflecting on how I have come to the conclusion there's just no other way. And I have resisted, I have fought, I have really just been lazy. Were you always a systematic person, or is this something that you developed?
I think I developed it over the course of time, just knowing that to be able to maximize my time. We only have the same amount of time every day, right? 12 hours. If I needed to do tons of stuff in that short window, how would I be able to do that? Which is just, creating systems.
Do we have any questions? Anybody? Because I have, we'll keep finding a way.
Yeah, well, let's get to the good stuff. We're not
Well,
even
we'll
there
get
yet.
to the good stuff. So I want to know, when I think of Carey Ann, I think of a brilliant marketer. You would say that it's your systems, but I believe you have an uncanny ability to connect to people. I want to know, is that a duplicatable sauce, or is that just something you feel like you have? And here's some examples. If she sees me posting something on Facebook, I might get something in my office within a day or two. I started the campaign hashtag 100 to 200, and we were just saying it. The next thing you know, there's 6 people in our office that has these little framed. She understands my love language. Some people may send me something. I don't give a damn about it. She understands how to connect with me from afar. Is that something that you can teach other people?
Sure. So I kept hitting 60 million, and I wanted to break that. And so I met a really good coach who told me that 80%
Who
of
was your coach?
a gentleman.
Do we know?
No. So 80% is marketing. 20% of what I do is my actual job, right? So, and also in my field, I'm the product. So just like being a singer or an entertainer, I had to be okay with marketing me, right? And so in my field, I had to accept the fact that I have to talk about myself because I am the product, right? And so I understand that I'm the product and I'm offering a side of mortgage, right? I'm the product and the side of mortgage, 80% marketing. So as soon as I shifted my entire way of thinking, I went and became a crazy marketer. And the phones just started ringing like crazy because I knew I already had systems in place that could, be able to do the job that I needed it to be done. And so, getting the phones to ring. So yes, creating amazing marketing ideas. Now, social media, thank God it wasn't around when I was young and singing because I'm like, Lord Almighty, we would have some funny videos. But you can use that right now. I use that every day. So I use social media, I scroll through, I'm like, oh, someone had a grandbaby. Someone's birthday. Oh, he loves
Himself. Loves himself.
I mean, what is going to go there, right? And, to have a successful marriage, you're supposed to understand their love language. To have a successful partnership in business, you have to know each other's love language.
So
right?
this is very key. As a self-proclaimed narcissist, I have put out so much content on social media, and I have learned that really does not, that ain't marketing, that does not really drive leads. Social media is a tool, like what she's saying, it's really a place for, it's a source to gather intel about people,
right,
to figure them out, and then you're going to have to find a way to connect. Unfortunately, I probably didn't learn that. I wish I'd have learned that sooner.
You can profile any of your you're about to have a great meeting, a new, in our business it's listings or a new real estate connection or any type of meeting. I would always profile the person before I met them. So, I would already have something to talk about, right? I already knew the connection that would grant, and build rapport as quickly as I could. So that was important as well.
Would it matter if you were not doing mortgages? Could you do the same thing? Because I got my buddy Jeffrey Baker over there. He's in the insurance business.
Yeah.
Could you tell him exactly what he needs to do? Is what you're doing duplicatable from mortgage to real estate or to insurance? What would you tell this gentleman right here how long have you been in the business? About a year? 11 months. He's done very well. What would be your marketing strategy to my buddy Jeffrey Baker?
I always say it doesn't matter if I'm selling insurance, garbage, clothes, it's the same routine. It's the same cycle every single time. You want people to love you, right? You want to have that connection. So the only way to connect with them is to speak their language. I like, for the record, there was a time where I was like, oh, I'm gonna work to get Tommy's business, right? And Tommy at the time was sitting in this chair and he's like, yeah, that's not happening. Never. You know, it wasn't, right? And so I used that. Normally a normal person would say, okay. And
Hey,
then
we're in front of people. It was
Huh?
probably us. We're in front of people.
we were in front of people, yeah. But I remember that.
Scott and Andy's house in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there yet. It's me and him.
But,
Me and the kid.
but it was a situation where I was normally, you accept the no and you move on. I took it as a challenge. And so I was like, oh no, he did not just say no, I'm gonna figure out a way. So you continue to find ways of connection, right? Even though we were still buds at the time, I think we were still friends at the time, we weren't working together.
You're in the business friend zone for well, what changed for
Keeps
me
being a friend.
is you brought me a system, you brought me a plan, a business plan, and you told me, dude, this is what you're doing wrong.
Right.
This is what you should be doing. And you outline that to where I'm like, I understand that. You know, you could have told me a different way, and I just would not have understood. I would not have understood that.
But I don't think anybody should give up on the first no. My mom always told me, thank you so much, but that's not what I would like to hear. I need to go try again, right? I would go 3 times, and even in my world with underwriting, the underwriter would say no. It's like, thank you so much, I appreciate, but we're not going to use you anymore. Who else would like to look at my file? And I would go to another underwriter until I would get a yes, right? And so, not giving up, and maybe that's in the mortgage industry where I found that, you know, you're gonna pitch your song so many times, you're gonna get 1,000 no's before you're gonna get a yes. So it's a power of numbers. And that's one thing that I will tell you, it is a power of numbers. I might talk to 25, 30, now 40 agents on a regular basis. So I'm juggling a lot of different hats, right?
Well,
So you gotta get comfortable with that.
How are you, because you're not just talking to them, there's an effective way that you communicate that also taps into their love language.
Sure, so if you want to believe in systems, I'm a big believer in selling the 2-pickle method, which is my new soon-to-be book out. I love that. So watch The Founder, or just Google 60 seconds on how to create a hamburger. Okay, so that's what I train on. And in my office, I'm like, do you have your 2 pickles? Because every single time, every single loan we do is the same way every single time. So you create a system. It could be 3 things, it could be 5 things, it could be 10 things, however you do it, right? So in our office, it's the same routine. So on Mondays, I have a 2-hour meeting every single Monday, consistently every single Monday. During that meeting, we sign 50 thank you notes, 50 birthday cards. We are constantly doing everything. People say send out cards, it's easy. I got it. I'm like, dude, that's not your handwriting.
Well,
You know, we're not
hey,
connected, right?
hold up.
Oh, I'm getting excited.
Your cards aren't the same. I mean, there's something that you're saying that's different. There's a connection that you're saying somehow that knows, hey, she knows me.
Oh, correct. But
So
I do
they just say,
sign.
happy birthday.
No, I do. So I personalize them after, but I do the base of happy birthday and I get the team to sign them, you know, and have everything ready and prepped. I also have already purchased, just thinking of you cards and grievance cards, and you just had a baby, and engagement cards. Everything's already ready to go. I have a marketing room or a closet of all the things. There's a book called Giftology out there. I read it just recently, and it's exactly everything that I'm all about, which is just thinking 2 steps ahead on how you can wow somebody. And so it goes just the building that rapport as quickly as you can, you know, and connecting with them. So if I'm having a meeting with you and we talk business, right after that meeting, what are you getting in the mail?
Something about me.
Yes.
Picture of me.
Or I'm sending a business book.
Climber shot of me.
I'm sending the latest business book, or I hear in conversation that he's a golfer. Thank you so much for the time we spent today. He got something related to golfing, right? You referenced the 200, you're gonna reach 200. I went and got 6. Now also, let me backpedal. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and I have an amazing team. And it started with 1, and it moved to 2, now it's up to 8, 10, something like that. Let's make it 11. Yes, we're moving up.
I
Yes.
asked you that the other day.
Yeah, but there's only one, Lindsay, and she's the marketing gal, right? And so, but I market one phone number, one email address, right? I mean, it's very, systematic, so you can control the situation. But knowing exactly what they're all about is important, and you think, 2 steps ahead. We met a gentleman with a new account. He's from Pennsylvania. I'm on that call, and I'm like, how am I going to make the connection to Pennsylvania? I'm like, I was 12, I went to the Hershey Park in a tent in Hershey, Pennsylvania, right? I made the connection. But as soon as I got off the call, I went straight to the marketing person, and I said, I need a Nashville basket sent to them to share the Nashville Music City love back to Pennsylvania, right? And so that wowed that person, and that got a connection with that specific account, right? So you've got to think like that, but I think that closes deals that maybe you wouldn't have, before.
Well, Coach Bird has been one of my best friends for 10 years, and one of the things he talked about over and over and over and over again, it never registered until I saw it with you, and it was the value of having emotional support, having buy-in from people.
Sure.
I just did not understand that. There was an absence of emotional support in my brain. But then I've seen how you've done that. You have found ways to connect to me that are very important. I know how to connect to Derek Godwin. I can send him something about candle wishes, and that dude would walk out. He'd do anything for me. Whenever you can find ways to connect, and this is something everybody here can learn, is if you can find special ways to connect to people, they will do crazy things to advocate for you. They will go so far and above to advocate for you. Is that you?
I don't know.
Probably you, that necklace. I didn't understand what this emotional support, I did not understand how to win a true advocate. So I want to ask you this, what is the one thing that you do that makes everything else happen? Is that tough?
One thing I do.
What is the one thing? There's just one. Is there one thing that you do that makes everything else fall into place?
I will tell you, even when I'm having the hardest day, I have to wake up and know that I'm committed to the final results. And so I think when I say it works, if you are the driving force behind your business, and I come to work and I am not as driven that day, the rest of the team isn't driven that day. I think you have to be committed fully to what you're going to do, right? And so, is that what you're asking?
No, I'm looking more for an activity. What is one activity that you do that if you do this activity, all the results come?
Oh, so I think the activity that I picked up so many years back was utilizing social media to become a person of interest. All of us have an industry that we're in. I know nothing about marble or engineering or insurance, right? Or even mortgages. So I would get out there and I would educate and become that person of interest for my particular industry, right? So when you were saying who's that person that might know about this particular industry, you would call me because I'm out there all the time telling you that I know what I'm talking about, right? I think it's important to share more of your story, be real. They want to know that you're real. I have a daughter, so people know more about my daughter than they know about me, right? And so understanding how to utilize social media to your benefit, but I'm very systematic on social media. I do a morning thing, I do a family, which is her and I or something like that, and then it's back to business. It's kind of like dating, date, close, date, type of thing. I can't tell you because I don't, but that's what they say. That's what you're supposed to do.
Hey, what is close? What does that mean?
Well, it's about to like take our relationship to the next level type of thing, right? I mean, I guess.
Okay, so you're number 1 in Tennessee, you're number 17 in the world, let's say. What is the next step? How do you grow that number?
Right, so last year we were really blessed to do help and serve over 630 families, which averaged about 50 families a month. And so I wanted to be able to take that number and grow that a little bit more. Understand the rates also jumped up. So my industry, you're getting compressed on multiple different things. The market is slowing down, and then the rates have increased. Understand all of those units also came with very minimal refinances. I focused on where I could get my business long term, which was purchase business. So the previous years, I did maybe 40 refinances every month. Every year. So it was to help serve 600 something families and only help them refinance 40. It was all purchase driven, right? Which means I was talking to a lot of people in the real estate, community. So the goal was to raise it and go the extra mile. How am I going to do that? It was last fall. I got to meet some great new people. Some of them are in the room, and I decided I was going to think bigger. If you're going to think bigger and take your business bigger, you have to readjust your life, right? And so I made some major changes in my life last fall, and I also decided that I wasn't going to I could not be the lady that got up at 4 o'clock every day, because I was going to burn out eventually. I was just going to say it's not going to happen anymore. So I decided to invest more money and hired 2 more people. So I took money out of my own paycheck to hire 2 more people, so they would actually do more of the paperwork, which allowed me to be able to have the time to focus on growth, which that was huge for me. I'm a control freak. And so I was like, no, I can't give that away, because my reputation
Lindsay's back there shaking her head.
She knows I am. I can't give it's my reputation, it's my name on the line. Oh my gosh, I just gave you this particular account. How are you actually going to do that? And so I had to learn the hard way. They're going to make mistakes. They're human, right? And so we're going to take a little dip down, or we're going to go even further up. And so really happy to announce we've done almost $86 million year to date. We're only halfway through the year, so we're going to soar over our goal this year. And it's because I've been able just to focus on growth, be able to be the girl who can go in and close it. I'm not going to drive an hour and not close that deal. So whatever scenario you're going to work, you want to make sure you go in and you take control and you close it, right? So that's one thing that I work on. The other thing is, we don't have a lot of time. I would love to go to lunch with you. That would be a one-on-one lunch, but how awesome would it be if you invited all your friends in the same industry, and I could feed 15, right? And I can have lunch with 15 people now. So instead of me having lunch with one and talking about my services with one, I'm now helping 15. One thing I learned is an awesome prospecting way is to tag or combine yourself with other people that are selling the same client. So if I'm selling to real estate agents, who else in my market is selling to real estate agents? And so I teamed up this past year with 2 other ladies in the industry that were not in my industry but selling to real estate agents, and we created a master class every month, and we get 200 agents in a room, right? And I'm the one in the front now talking about what can be offered, and we provide a service. Be a resource. Sometimes people don't want to know about mortgages, but you would love to know about how I can help you grow your business. I don't go in and ask you, I want your business. I don't expect you to give me your business. I want to earn your business, and how can I do that? By showing you ways that we can grow together and reach new heights together. So that's another little tool.
Any questions? Ronnie Martin, you've always got a question.
Yeah, I'm a process guy as well. I think that's one of the easiest ways to grow a business quickly, especially if you have other people working on your team.
Yeah.
But I think it takes a strategic person to lay that plan out. Obviously, you're a very strategic person. One of the things I've seen with my team is getting them, you teach them the process, but the creativity to think strategically within that process is harder, especially as I was mentioning to you earlier.
Yeah.
As I've stepped away from some of the things I'm doing, they can stay in the lane, but if you change that at all, it's hard for them to see exactly where to fit to and how to do that. Have you had experiences with that? What's your perspective on that?
Yes, absolutely. So every Monday for 2 hours, we have a training on role playing.
Yeah.
If someone says this, you say that. And so, because they're not you, however, they have to be a compliment to you. So if Weatherman loves me and I hand him off to Sue, if Sue doesn't compliment me and act how he fell in love with me, right, it's not going to work. And so we train on that on a regular basis. I'm big, there needs to be a beginning, middle, and end on your emails, right, Lindsay? I mean, I stress this all the time. If I see your email and you said like 3 words back to a customer, I'm like, no, not happening. and 3 times and you're off the team. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm like a really, it's a hardcore deal. It seems so simple, but if you think about it, a text message can come across so rude, or an email can come across so rude. So, I mean, I'm very systematic. I wrote them one email. It's the same email that goes out to every client, and they can add their own verbiage to it. But they're not the creative ones, we are, right? And so if you can create the system in advance and just make sure that they stay true to that is important. Because it's easy to fall off the wagon, and we all do. Like today, we fell off a couple times, and so tomorrow's a new day. We also don't blame anybody. It wasn't your fault or your fault. It was our fault. We should work together as a team. You know, we have to take it together as a team. But you're right, sometimes they don't know when you throw something at me how to respond, so we do practice role-playing on that a lot. But it takes a lot of time to do that, right? So I will tell you, it's 2 hours, 11:30 to 1:30 every Monday. I bring lunch in, and we just kind of, you know, talk through it all together. The person that tells me they are busy, they don't have time for that, I laugh and say, you're not as busy as I. You can do this, and this is how you get to the next level, by committing yourself to working on your business every single week is basically what we're doing. I learned that from Coach Bird. I wasn't going to sign up for Coach Bird because I didn't have time to get coached, and I was also doing enough that I felt that was great, right? And so I committed 2 hours of my time to coaching, and I drove to Murfreesboro. I live in Franklin, right? So I drive here, and so it made a huge difference in my business. The other thing I would say is I was in Franklin. I landed in Franklin. I didn't know any different. That's where I landed when I moved here, right? I was blessed to land in Franklin. Well, guess who else is in Franklin? Everybody else and their mama who wants to feel like Williamson County is going to be the highest priced loan in my business, right? And I was like, well, forget that. I'm not going to compete. Y'all can fight against each other. So I decided, again, so many years back, that I would drive to Wilson County, Rutherford County, Sumner County, Murray County. I have one account in Williamson County. So all of the loans that I do are in every other county but the county I live in. And so, and if you guys are in Murfreesboro, it's not easy to get into Murfreesboro, right? So it took a long time to break into this area. But they say if somebody's selling an apple, you sell an orange. If someone's over here and the competition is grand, you go where the competition is not. I mean, Lindsay tells me, you have a meeting on Tuesday. I'm like, awesome, great, I get to go talk to a whole group of people. And she goes, I need you to plan about an hour and a half to get there. I'm like, where are you sending me? And I passed horses and buggies, and I was down in Lawrenceburg or something, you know? I mean, I didn't know where I was going. And so I made it down there, and you have to be who you are, and I closed that as much as I would close anything else.
Well, was that a big deal in Lawrenceburg? Because I've got a question.
Yeah.
Whenever you're really thinking big, how do you get motivated to do small things?
So I never look at the loan size either.
What if it's just one? What if it's just one little small deal?
So to me, I can help that one person. However, that one person might have 5 friends that happen to be millionaires. I don't look at it as that's a small deal. I hear many lenders in town cherry pick. I don't do that. So.
Well, you know, Coach Burt, he got one of his biggest clients one time, because we talk about this quite often. How do you get motivated to go do something so small? Derek Godwin, you're always doing things. And I'm sitting there, this is a limitation, this is a disability that I have, where I'm like, you know, I don't think this is worthy of my time. And one time Coach Burt was speaking, and 2 people were there. And before he went out there, somebody said, well, we just canceled this. He's like, no, they wanted to come to this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give them my very, very best. Right. And just so happened, one of the 2 people in the audience turned out to be one of the biggest clients he ever had.
Right.
And when I'm looking back, I really get mad at myself for thinking, you know, I should just go do these things, even if I feel like it's going to be a waste of my time.
I'm a big believer, and in my office, if any of my team members look at a loan size and they say I'm going to make $400 for the branch on that, I'm like, that's going to be your last day, right? And so we just look at how many families can we serve. We need to help as many families as possible, because you never know where the doors are going to open. Because one door is going to lead me down a path. I mean, I think of the accounts that I have right now, where I got those. I mean, our connection and and just where life took me. If I didn't go where the doors opened, I would not be where I am today. And so I will help. I always say when I'm out there, I'm not a diva. I'll help you with your manufactured home. I always say now, you now can bow to me because I am a queen. I am the manufactured home queen. So yeah, for those that don't know, we do lend on those as well if you need, one by one.
Ginger, do you mind reaching in that box over there? It's time to give away.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's give away. Phil Griffin, Griffin Shaggy. Oh yes, he is giving away Don Julio tequila.
Love it.
If you've got any questions, please let me know.
I didn't take it out.
Who is it?
John Gonzalez, yeah.
Do you even drink tequila?
He said, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
love
good.
that. Come on and get
So do we.
Jonathan Souls is a buddy of mine that I think I've sold him 5 houses, I think. Is it 5 or 6? It sounds like he's about ready to sell another one, aren't you? Thanks for coming, buddy. Hey, it's getting close. I'd like to make this about 30 minutes. What time is it?
So it's
Talking.
11 now.
It's what?
6:11.
6:11. Does anybody have any questions before we do that?
That's what,
I
yeah.
may have missed it, but, okay, Derek Godwin, near and dear to his heart is Kendall Wishes, correct? What is it that's near and dear to you?
Sure. So I've got a couple. My sister was diagnosed with breast cancer at 27, lost both of her breasts, and my mom was a breast cancer survivor as well. And so a big part of what I focus on is helping with the cancer patients. What I learned through my sister going through breast cancer, it's not just breast cancer. There's so many different cancers. And Gilda's Club down in Nashville is a great big support for what she went through. Also, both of my other siblings are both disabled vets, and so I do a big push for all of our veterans as well. And so you don't have to lose a leg to be a disabled vet. So both of my siblings have gone through a lot with that, and I'm happy that they're back after 2 tours overseas. But yeah, so supporting our veterans is key.